Colonel Rob Maness has a lifelong record of providing dedicated service to this nation. Having worked his way up from the enlisted ranks to full colonel, he served our country for more than 32 years. He has served as a bomber squadron commander, bomb disposal technician, Joint Chiefs of Staff operations officer, assisted the national security team with the campaign plan for the global war on terrorism. He authored the first theater nuclear war plan and served as the vice commander of America's largest airborne intelligence wing. Colonel Rob Maness is a true American hero. This is Rob Maness Live.
More than 700 high-ranking national security officials have endorsed Democratic candidate Vice President Harris in her run for the White House, with some leaders expressing concerns about former President Trump's scary authoritarian streak. Vice President Harris has all the leadership qualities needed to be a strong commander-in-chief. She's prepared, she's strategic, she understands all sides of an issue. Retired U.S. Navy Rear ADM Michael Smith told The Hill, "We saw as much during the debate. As we've seen for nearly a decade, however, former President Trump has none of those qualities, and he has a scary authoritarian streak." Smith, who is also the president of National Security Leaders for America, added, "The letter endorsing Harris consists of 741 former high-ranking national security officials, including 233 general and flag officers. Among those 741 officials are 15 four-star generals, 10 former cabinet secretaries, and 10 service secretaries, as well as leaders who served in Republican administrations. We do not agree on everything, but we all adhere to two fundamental principles," the letter reads. First, we believe America's national security requires a serious and capable commander-in-chief. Second, we believe American democracy is invaluable. Each generation has a responsibility to defend it," the letter continues. "That is why we, the undersigned, proudly endorse Kamala Harris to be the next president of the United States." The signatories praise Harris as the more diplomatic and realistic candidate for office, distinguishing her from former President Trump, who they call impulsive and ill-informed. The letter cites Trump's relations with Chinese President Xi Jinping, Russian President Vladimir Putin, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, and the terrorist leaders of Hezbollah. Our endorsement of Vice President Harris is an endorsement of freedom and an act of patriotism. It is an endorsement of democratic ideals, of competence, and of relentless optimism in America's future, the letter concludes. This endorsement comes after more than 100 former GOP national security figures endorsed Harris earlier this week. That letter cited Trump's demonstrated chaotic and unethical behavior as president as reason to support Harris, who they say possesses the essential qualities to serve as president.
The national security state's war on Donald J. Trump. Welcome back to More War Mondays, and the Rob Maness Show is live on Worldview Tube and X-Space's simulcast. Well, is anybody surprised the national security state's political representatives are all in for Kamala Harris? After all, she's the direct link to all its disastrous decisions in the Harris-Biden administration, like the Afghanistan withdrawal debacle. Naturally, these people appreciate the fact that not one general, admiral, or senior executive service employee in the Department of Defense or anywhere else has been held accountable for that or the rest of the national security disasters that this administration has led us into. Actually, I should say shoved us into. You should note that several of the signers of this letter of lies are leaders of the 51 intelligence leaders who signed the Hunter Biden laptop letter of lies, rigging the 2020 election. And of course, the most prevalent and visible actions to take Trump down up by the national security state show up in the Secret Service's lack of action, leading to at least 2 known assassination attempts on President Trump. And now we see the Internal Revenue Service's agent union is endorsing Harris. Yes, the IRA is part of the national security state, folks, and is weaponized against anyone opposing it. Just look what's happening. President Trump is not alone, however. In fact, the campaign's Veterans for Trump coalition is huge. Last I heard, we had over 175,000 members, and we adamantly support Mr. Trump's policies to hold these national security state leaders, so-called, accountable and more. Well, my guest today is Chad Caton. Chad's a Republican activist from South Carolina and an original member of the 2024 Trump campaign's Veterans for Trump coalition, and he's a surrogate for them. And he's founder of Operation Free Nation. He's a retired firefighter, a U.S. Navy CB veteran, and host of the I'm Fired Up show, which gets me going every time I watch it. And he joins me to discuss all this and a whole lot more of what's going on here on More War Monday. Chad, welcome back to the Rob Maness Show.
Colonel, as always, sir, whenever you need me, I'm there. Whatever you say. Let's get weird.
Never fails, my friend. Never fails. So let's take a. Did you watch the video when I played it there? The little cold open propaganda video.
Yes,
all right, folks. Let me just. I'm not going to apologize. I'm not going to apologize. It's a propaganda video. You can know that by the Stalinist and Leninist art of Kamala Harris that they put in the video several times. Isn't that right, Chad?
It's Comedy Central. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. Part of me feels like it's Comedy Central. The other part of me feels like it's, what was that English one where it was all weird and whatnot back in the day. I can't remember, but you know, what's that? Yeah, exactly. It's a little bit of F Troop and a whole bunch of Hogan's Heroes. I don't know what in the world's going on over there. And as far as the wide world of sports is going on, they haven't got a clue. I love it, though, because they're exposing themselves every day, and the stupid that we all feel is hopefully going to transform into Republican Donald Trump votes and Republican down ballot, and we are going to do some major overhauling on our country.
Oh, yeah. And I had to get you on to do this show because it is deadly serious, and we're going to go through that, but it's also hilarious. Let's take Dick Cheney and Liz Cheney. Okay, so Kamala Harris is proudly publicizing Dick Cheney's endorsement of her on Twitter. Now, as an American veteran, an American veteran that served in these wars, that most of us, other than the initial response to 9/11, agree are worthless and shouldn't have been done, quite frankly. How does that hit you, Dick Cheney and Kamala Harris?
Dick Cheney? They called him the devil for how many years? Like, there's actual videos. Sorry, it's so dumb. They're like, he's Satan, he's Satan, he's Satan. Dick Cheney, Blackwater, it's all Satanist. And I was like, what day did I go to sleep and wake up and realize that we're on this side of this situation when we realize the establishment is no better than the dirt on the bottom of my shoe? See how I kept it family friendly? You're welcome, Colonel. But at the end of the day, this is who we're dealing with. Now, all of a sudden, they're out there wanting to throw a ticker tape parade for the most evil family in the Democrat world for the last 20 years. You can't make it up. It doesn't go away. Everything on the internet's forever, and we get to watch it. That's why I think it's important that we laugh at the hypocrisy that is the Democrats and all the stupid they continue to put out. It's actually really fun for me because this is stuff we've been saying on shows for how long, Colonel? And just sitting there going, you people really believe any of this? And this is what now it's like right there in the world. And I go on debate Democrats all the time, and they're like, well, you said it first. I did it. I mean, we've gotten to this third grade playground type arguments, and I'm just sitting there going, when did we get this dumb? And the Democrats are completely spinning out of control. And frankly, I'm here for it.
Do you see, before, I got a hand up over in the audience, so we'll go to that in a second, but do you see a realignment political party-wise? Hello, Diesel. I think I heard it there. Do you see a realignment occurring before our eyes, Chad? Because it's like I use the phrase national security state, but it's like the whole pro-government runs your life, including send your kids to useless wars to die in. Crowd is it looks like they're unifying all on one side. And it's not the side that the Democrats have been telling us they were going to unify on all these years. The Nazis and fascists. Oh, they're all on the other side. That's right. with the communists.
It's this whole. Remember the third grade
Do you
playground
see
thing I
that?
told you?
Seriously though, do you see it? Do you see a political realignment in the parties happening?
Oh yeah.
Or is this like a temporary thing?
No. I don't think this can go anywhere. I think we get a switch now. Remember how they say back in the day that, well, the Democrats were the party of Ku Klux Klan and all that. No, there was a switch. Nobody knows when the switch happened. There was never like an electrical situation where we had a big thunderstorm or something. It's just all of a sudden the Democrats are like, we freed the slaves because we switched out with the Republican Party, the Southern switch. Well, it looks like we're getting our own Southern switch, because of great patriots like General Michael Flynn, who went out there and wrote his Jerry Maguire paperwork and said, hey, it'd be really cool if we went to war and actually won some stuff instead of just going to war to go to war and watching our kids die. And what did they do? They promoted him. Good job. Stop talking about that over there and go over there and be this guy. And General Flynn is somebody very close to you and I, and a great friend and mentor. And he's been out there out front. And the switch is happening, if we want to call it that. But what it is that we're tired of it. There's so many veterans that have been over to war and been like, we did everything we did, so many big stories. How many movies have come out of Afghanistan and such heroism and Medal of Honor? And then Biden went over there and go, come over here, you guys can take all this stuff, we're out. And just take everything. Yeah. The dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. There is no general, there is no anybody. Can you imagine the other countries? I often think, like, what if I was in Poland? I'd be like, what are they doing? It makes no sense. We're a laughing stock because of the bumbling idiots we have for president and vice president right now. It makes no sense to me. And we're switching, I guess, if we want to call it that. But we're going to win. And this is what America First is going to be around for a very, very, very long time.
Oh, I totally agree. Okay, let's go over to the audience there. Shell, who's got their hand up? I think it's AJ.
Yes, sir. We have AJ.
Thank you so much for the mic, Shell, Colonel Maness, Chad. I just have a question. If the members of the national security apparatus said that President Trump is ill-informed or misinformed, and then they signed their names under a document like that, isn't this sort of admission of guilt in the national security apparatus and failing in their responsibility to inform the sitting president? I can't get over the irony. What are your thoughts on that? Thank you.
Is that for me?
Good.
I mean, I just turned my mic off because I was laughing so damn hard. AJ, you're right. Here's the guys that are saying that they're in charge of the national intelligence apparatus, and they're going, I'm going to sign this piece of paper because he doesn't know. Well, who tells him? Well, it's us, but we haven't told him, so we're going to tell him that we're going to write a letter that he doesn't know anything because we haven't told him. And then you have this administration that doesn't want him to get any of the briefs in the morning based on national security. They don't want him to have it. They've tried to keep it from him. So is the intel community. So we're all supposed to sit back and say, okay. So these guys are getting behind Kamala. Well, that makes sense to me. No, it doesn't. They're part of the problem. Yeah. They haven't told Trump nothing. So if he doesn't know, it's because of them. You're absolutely right, AJ. Great question.
Yeah, absolutely. That's right. I hadn't even thought about it that way, but it's exactly right. And then they go on to call him unstable. There's like 3 direct falsehoods in this letter that these 700 plus people signed. And one is he's shown no remorse for the insurrection on January 6th, a complete lie about the January 6th insurrection part. He shouldn't show any remorse for anything that day. He did what he was supposed to do. Peaceful and patriotically, people. Jeez. He's unstable. He's not reliable. That means that's code for we can't trust him to make the decision we want him to make. That's what this is all about, folks. And we can make Kamala make the decision we want to make, just like we did Joe Biden, because his brain is mush. We can trust him, so they're not unstable. Think about that. Holy crap. Well, we got to take a commercial break, Chad. When we come back, we're going to continue this discussion because I want to lay out some stuff as to why these people really are wrong. And we need to oppose them with all of our might. And then we'll go into the Secret Service debacle, which is another part of the national security state that's at war against Donald J. Trump. I said it. They are. They're at war against him. They're trying to get him killed. We'll be right back on More War Mondays. My guest is Chad Caton of I'm Fired Up and a whole bunch of other things. We'll be right back.
We live in uncertain times. In fact, we live at a time when our own governments all over the world are warning us that there could be big problems with our power grid. World War III seems to be right on the horizon. Let me ask you this. Do you have a satellite phone? Should communications go down with cell towers? Do you have a satellite phone to get a hold of that college student or your spouse who travels, whatever it might be, to get a hold of your senior adult parents? We have satellite phones at worldviewtalk.com, and you get the satellite phone for free when you sign up for their very reasonable payment programs for the service. Sign up for the service with a reasonable contract, get the satellite phone for free. Worldviewtalk.com. You'll also find they have, well, what I now have, which is a solar generator. Yeah, I have a gas generator, an LP propane generator, but what if that goes down? I want to back up to my backup. So I now have a solar generator as well. You'll find them at worldviewtalk.com. Check it out today, worldviewtalk.com.
Senator Josh Hawley joins me now. Senator, what are you hearing now from people that are speaking to your staff?
Well, what we've heard, Jesse, from new whistleblowers who've come forward about this second assassination attempt on Donald Trump's life. And here's what they have told us. That golf course that the president was playing, Secret Service have guarded that course many, many times. And what the whistleblower says is protocol calls for Secret Service to station agents along the places in the course that are known vulnerabilities. I want to emphasize the service has guarded this course many times. They know where there are vulnerabilities. They normally station agents there ahead of Trump's appearance on the course, but they apparently did not do that this last weekend. And the whistleblowers tell me that's strange. That's out of protocol. It's not even clear Secret Service swept the perimeter before Trump took to the course. Also a breach of protocol. And they want to know why, and so do I. I think the Secret Service deserves to give us answers.
We're hearing conflicting reports about who fired off those rounds at Ruth. Was it a guy sweeping the perimeter during the round, or was it the advance team who was a hole ahead? Do we have any understanding of what the truth is there?
I don't think we do yet. Certainly I don't. And again, the Secret Service, the FBI, DHS have not been forthcoming on this. Jesse, I want to emphasize we are over 2 months, of course, since Butler. Do you know that the Secret Service still has not given congressional investigators the documents and evidence we have been asking for 2 months? 2 months since Trump was shot in the face. Now he has been shot at, or nearly so, again, and still Secret Service is stonewalling right down to this hour. I mean, what is going on here? They need to level with us. They need to level with the American people, and they need to tell us what in the world is happening.
I mean, even your colleagues, pretty partisan colleagues on the left, Blumenthal, even he's just had it. So we're also hearing, and this is new, tell me if you've heard this as well, that the Secret Service told the locals in Butler, oh, no, we got the roof. Don't worry about the roof. We got it. Is that what you heard too? Because they didn't get it.
You know, I saw this in Senator Grassley's recent report, and I can tell you, Jesse, I can confirm that local law enforcement in Butler, local whistleblowers have told me in my office that Secret Service was indeed the one that took, of course, the planning lead on the day, and that Secret Service was supposed to be in charge of securing that location. And they didn't do it. And I tell you what, local law enforcement has been extremely upset, to put it mildly, for months now that they've been blamed. The Secret Service went public, blamed the locals, and the locals say it wasn't our responsibility. Secret Service was supposed to do it. Jesse, the local police even offered Secret Service drones on the day in Butler. Secret Service said no.
Do you believe in your heart that the Secret Service is just incompetent or they're compromised?
You know, all I can say is this. When for 2 months you won't answer questions in public, you won't give congressional investigators any documents or evidence, you won't comply with the most basic requests for information, that raises a lot of troubling questions. It's a stonewall, Jesse. That's all there is to it. This is stonewalling at this point. I don't know why they're stonewalling, but it can't be good. And it's time for them to come clean.
It's unacceptable. And again, great job with your office communicating with these whistleblowers. It's the only way we're getting the truth out there. Thank you, Senator Hawley.
Welcome back to the Rob Maness Show. It's More War Monday. And yes, the national security state, including the Secret Service, is at war with Donald J. Trump. And Veterans for Trump Coalition member and campaign surrogate for them is with me today. Chad Caton is with me today. And Chad, before we go onto that subject, I just want to stay on the subject of the list, and just to show how incompetent these people are and why we must fight to defeat these jerks. A man named Eldridge Colby. Eldridge Colby was the Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for National Security Strategy and Force Development in the Trump administration. He writes just today that the reason why the national security is in such bad shape is really because of this war in Ukraine. He calls it deeply tragic. But the reason behind it is because it's a profound and clear failure of the U.S. foreign policy establishment, which includes national security, Department of Defense, all of it. Okay? And he goes, why? Because the establishment has consistently gotten wrong key questions about the conflict. These are questions that we've gotten right, and we're not the elite. One, they've advocated for unrealistic policies and downplayed the risk of failure, or even worse. At best, they should be like an investor. They're assessing the situation under realistic terms, looking at the assets available, the constraints that are being faced, and allocating capital accordingly. That is not what they've done. And here are the results. A deteriorating situation in Ukraine with the revanchist and aggressive Russia that is dedicating a much larger fraction of its resources to its military. We weren't in that situation before. A China that is weakening America's military strength and political will and our fiscal capacity in a theater that nobody really wants to pay attention to, even though that's where the real threat is. A defense industrial base that can't even build ships. We got submarine that's like $100-something billion over budget. It's unbelievable. And no admirals have been fired.
Don't forget it's first non-binary submarine. That's important too.
Yeah. There we go. And here's one of the worst parts. And God bless Mr. Colby. I hope he's in a leadership role in the next Trump administration when Trump wins. A large segment of the American population is even more skeptical of the wisdom and credibility of the foreign policy elite on the question of the use of military force abroad. Now, this guy is he's one of the elite. I mean, he's been up there, but he sees what's really happening and he lays it out. And I have to be honest, I met him face to face, and I've had him on the show because he and I are aligned a lot on his foreign policy positions. But this is incredible that these people would sign this letter backing Kamala Harris and Dick Cheney when they have put us in this situation, and they don't acknowledge it.
It's the military-industrial complex, Colonel. That's what everything you're just talking about. Like, we are seeing what's going on. This is a bad fight. What we're doing over here is wasted resources. But the military-industrial complex is sitting there going, wait a minute, hang on. Me and Lindsey Graham need to talk about something real quick, and we think we need to spend more money in the military-industrial complex so that so these fellers can get paid, so Lindsey Graham can continue to get paid, so the rest of the war hawks can sit back and try to act like they're a patriot in some way or another, all while waving the American flag and pumping their fist as they send our young sons and daughters to foreign land to get killed, just so that the military-industrial complex can continue to make hand-over-fist money. This is exactly why they do it. This is exactly why you're here. You're reading what you're reading. It's the same type of thing that General Flynn put out, saying, why do we keep having these wars and there is zero strategy for us to win it? We are just sitting here eating up resources and spending money. It's the exact same concept, and it's continuing to happen. And that's why you're seeing the military-industrial complex jump around Kamala for the first time in history exponentially, because the Democrats have turned into the war hawks, and they're the ones that are having the military-industrial complex pay hundreds of millions of dollars for their campaigns. It's disgusting, and I'm glad that they're being exposed for exactly who they are right now.
Yeah, and folks, just so you know, go look at that list. Get it out. Read their letter. Don't believe me. Go check it out. Look, I know several people on that list. As a matter of fact, 3 of my professors from Harvard are on that list that are Republicans, because I went to the Kennedy School during a Democrat administration. So these guys were teaching there. I highly respected them, but they have taken a step, and a lot of these people on this list have taken this step that they know is against the national security status of our country and the ability of this country to deter war and achieve peace and prosperity for our people. They know that this step opposes that. And that's what's troubling about it, Chad. It's really troubling, and I hope that when Trump gets in, that he will hire people like you, like Mr. Colby, like General Flynn, so that we have people that are professionals in this business, but have the understanding and the common sense and the guts to do what is right, which is to stop this national security state in its tracks and rebuild so that we're strong again. We have strong political will, and we're not fighting wars and wasting our kids' lives and blood and all that treasure on the wrong things. It's crazy. It's crazy, man.
It's way past crazy. That's why all I can do is laugh at it right now when we bring out the hypocrisy in it. And that's how we win. I really believe that it's all about making sure the American people, who have been lied to, can see the hypocrisy for themselves. And it's always better to throw a little humor in there and say, look at the wide world of sports we're living in right now. It doesn't get any dumber than this.
It makes absolutely no sense. It's the most illogical thing I've ever experienced in my life. I'll be 63 here in a couple of months, and I'm thinking, man, I've seen a lot of things since I was born. I thought a lot of history has gone by, but I've never seen anything this nuts. So Secret Service. Let's move on to that part of the national security state, because it is part of the national security state, folks. It operates within the same sphere of influence, same budgetary pressures and those kind of things. And some breaking news, in addition to what Holly was talking about there with Jesse Waters on the whistleblowers and everything before we came out, is that this guy Ruth, the second assassin, he left some letters. There's a DOJ document or something they put out this morning. I haven't actually seen it, but I've seen the reporting on it, so I can speak to it a little bit. And one of them is apologizing for his failure to kill Donald Trump and saying he's got $150,000 to give to the person that is successful. That's stunning.
Got so much to say about this. First off, I think it's important that we be honest, because I've looked everywhere in that letter. I don't know if it's come from the jail since he's been put in there, or was this something they found on him? I haven't seen that yet, so I don't want to speak out of turn, if you will, because if they found this in his Garanimal's backpack where he was sitting there with his Lunchable and his gun, I want to know if he already had this written, and that really raises some weird eyebrows, right? But if this was something that came out of the jail, where they open the letter and they see what you're sending out and all of that, and they take a picture of it and post it. First off, why are you posting it? But at the same time, the government's kind of in a quandary, because we've said you still haven't told us about Butler. You remember the transformer that shot up the school? They wouldn't give us that person's letter manifesto or whatnot for almost 8 months. Now all of a sudden this quack goes out there and you're dropping letters saying that he's putting up a $150,000 bounty on the former president of the United States, Donald J. Trump. It doesn't add up. But I think it's important that we get those facts as to when did this letter get put out? When did the DOJ get this letter? Was it something he put out as he sat in his cell, or is this something that was in his backpack? I don't know. And I haven't been able to find it. So if anybody can find that, I'd love to know, because I think that's an important caveat to the wording in that letter. Other than that, there's a lot of other things in the Secret Service did that I think Josh Hawley, and I hate saying this because I love Josh, but there's some security apparati and some statements that have been made that go to against the nefariousness, and I think both should be put out there for people to make informed decisions. That's my opinion. Yeah,
exactly right. Just to clarify, the reporting that I recorded was reporting that this was supposedly written prior to the incident. So in the lead up to it. And that leads me to some of the questions that I have, and the individual reporting it. It was Jack Posobiec on Real America's Voice, his Human Events show. one of them is okay. So what was the planning time horizon on this operation? I mean, how long has this guy been doing this? Because part of this document also, Chad talks about that he was reconnaissancing and surveilling Mar-a-Lago and Trump International Golf Course for a significant period of time, much greater than the 12 hours that he was on station there, starting at like 01:30 in the morning the day that they caught him. So days prior, maybe even over a week. I'm not exactly sure on that timeline. So that's my question. The other one is, and this one Jack had just before I came on the show, and that is, if he wrote a letter about failing, did he write some other letters about being successful? And those kind of things, because even General Eisenhower did that at the D-Day invasion. He wrote a letter, a message in case it failed, and he wrote one in case it succeeded. So a lot of questions about it, and more questions than we have answers, man. And we're talking about the president of the United States. I got to go to another commercial break, but when we come back, I want to get into. You've been to some rallies recently. Notably the one in North Carolina. I noticed some good things in the photos and the videos that I want to talk about from a Secret Service perspective, just to get on the other side of this and put both sides out. We'll be right back with Chad Caton, Rob Maness Show, More War Monday. Yep, they are at war with Donald Trump. We'll be right back.
Hello, I'm Brandon House, and I want to tell you about Numi. This is a swish. You just take 2 capfuls, swish it around your mouth for 3 to 4 minutes, and you're absorbing, according to the studies, glutathione. Now, you don't need to take my word for it. There are over 162,000 studies on PubMed on the power of glutathione. It is a powerful molecule that studies show detoxes our cells. Some studies even show that glutathione might remove mercury from our brains, help to prevent things like Alzheimer's, dementia, and Parkinson's. Now look, I'm not making claims. I'm just telling you what the research is showing about the powerful molecule glutathione. Numi is the product that contains glutathione. Melissa and I swish with this twice a day. We urge you to go to Numi.com/house1. That's Numi, Neumi.com/HOWSE and the numeral 1. Begin finding out about the power of glutathione while also supporting this broadcast network. Thank you.
I bet you didn't know the IRS union just endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris. What does that mean for us? Critics are buzzing. With the National Treasury Employees Union backing Harris, many fear a spike in taxes. This union represents IRS agents, and their endorsement follows the $80 billion boost to the IRS from the Inflation Reduction Act. That's right, 87,000 new agents hired. Conservatives on social media are sounding the alarm. They view this as a clear sign of Harris's tax ambitions. One pro-Trump commentator even warned, "Get ready to be taxed to death." Is this endorsement just another political move or a red flag for taxpayers? Only time will tell, but one thing's for sure, it's got everyone talking. Make sure to stay informed because this could impact your wallet. Thanks for watching. Hit that subscribe button for more updates.
Welcome back to the Rob Maness Show. It's More War Monday, and the national security state is at war with Donald J. Trump. And I would just add, I haven't said it in the show yet, and his supporters like us, too. If you're one of those supporters out there like I am, I feel like the entire United States government has been weaponized against people that believe in the policies that Trump 45 and that Trump 47 will be bringing back to the American people of America First. That's why I volunteered to be one of the original veterans on the Veterans for Trump Coalition when I was asked if I would do it. Just like my guest today, Chad Caton, who is also a surrogate speaker for that coalition and is on here today partially in that capacity. Chad, the Secret Service thing, I know that you've been at several rallies recently. I was at the one that he did for Bernie Moreno in Ohio. Folks, get out in Ohio and vote for Bernie Moreno so we can get rid of Sherrod Brown, by the way. And I've been around Secret Service stuff quite a bit in my professional and personal background and everything, and events and everything. And I noticed that there were some things not there at the Ohio one that I was used to seeing, and of course that all got highlighted at Butler. But this time I saw some pictures that you put up on social media, and I noticed some things that I had not seen before, which were good things. Some bulletproof shielding, glass shielding, surrounding the speaker's podium, like you would be if he was president of the United States. I mean, is that accurate? Am I right about that? It's hard to tell in a picture or video.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And the last two I went to, be it New York, there in Long Island, and then subsequently the following weekend to Wilmington, North Carolina, the security apparatus has gone up exponentially from when I saw him at not just RNC, but prior to that and a couple other deals. Now, the biggest one is around the stage, there was around 4 to 6 Secret Service agents. Now there's a whole bunch. I don't even know how many. And they have stairs that go up to the podium. And there's a Secret Service member with their hands on the handle, if you will, and they have 1 foot on the bottom stairs, as if to say, if anything happens, they're already in position to run up those stairs to President Trump. And at Wilmington, I thought it was very interesting because we were on a tarmac. It had to be 40 big rig trailers backed up to each other to take away all concepts of line of sight for another sniper or what have you. And we kind of saw that when he did his speech there at the border, and they put stuff up on the fence to take away line of sight. So it was, the security presence was huge at North Carolina, and especially in Long Island. It was, I mean, from horseback to bike cops to motorcycle bike cops to Secret Service, HSI, TSA was running the magnetometers in a lot of cases. So yeah, I've seen a huge uptick in a Secret Service profile at these rallies.
Now mentioning that I have to say this now, mentioning the TSA is running the mags doesn't give me a warm fuzzy, because I've been involved in testing of the mags in airports as a volunteer before because of my background, and they failed every time. So, wow. But anyway, you know, that's good news. That's good news. So reporting from the ground, folks, you know, there have been improved measures. You don't have to just believe this rogue guy, acting director, that you can't rely on anyway because he's unreliable. He's part of them. But you can believe those of us that support the president that are seeing this stuff on the ground. So that's really good news. So what do you, let's get back to some more serious things now. So they're trying to kill him. The national security people want to kill us by sending us these useless wars. And now the IRS, which, folks, as I said in my opening, it is part of the national security state. The Internal Revenue Service is part of the national security state. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Now, the IRS Employees Union, one of them anyway, is endorsing Kamala Harris, and she put that out like it's a badge of honor.
It's a hell of a flex, isn't it? She thought that was one heck of a flex, man. She's like, the IRS unions got my back, and we're all like, whoa, time out. Wait a minute. That's not okay with me, bro. Wait a minute. I mean, you could not, I mean, other than Dick Cheney endorsing you, you could not find a worse group to endorse you, unless it was, I don't know, the porn society or something. Maybe not. I think IRS is still worse at the end of the day. And I'm so glad you brought it up, because I have 1,000 jokes, but I'm going to keep it serious for you, because this is where the rubber meets the road, right? This is why I try to laugh about everything, because they're exposing themselves. I didn't even know there was an IRS union. The fact that they have a union scares the bejesus out of me. I'm not going to lie to you, because there's somebody out there saying we need to get paid more to go find more people's money. Can you imagine if the IRS walked out? It'd probably be the greatest thing that ever happened in the United States. IRS walkout. We're all like, yes, good job. We want you to strike. It makes no sense to me that she put that up as a flex on her Twitter. And I actually had to read it like 3 or 4 times. I was like, I didn't even have a drink, nothing. And I'm like, did she really just put an endorsement of the IRS? I mean, who in the wide world of trailer parks makes any sense whatsoever for the IRS to be endorsing anybody? The IRS should be quiet. And isn't that a Hatch Act thing? Like, isn't that something that every American, I don't care who you are, Republican, Democrat, Independent, a lion group, or whatever you want to call yourself, if you hear that the IRS conglomerate of the United States of America is getting behind a president, that's scary. That is so scary. It's unbelievable. And I don't remember any other president ever being endorsed by the IRS, and I'm doing air quotes for X spaces, union. I've never heard of that in my life. Is that new? Is that a new thing? Or did they get behind Starbucks and start a union, or what happened?
Well, it's called the National Treasury Employees Union, NTEU, is what I found out in my research, because I was a little bit surprised. Now, there is a government employees union.
Sure.
General one, and there is a postal employees union. The postal employees recently endorsed Kamala Harris too. How's that grab you, folks? The people running the mail-in part of the election, right? Yeah. Okay.
In charge of the mail-in.
That makes sense.
Perfect.
Yeah, I mean, none of this makes any sense. I forgot to mention that the Secret Service is wasting resources protecting the Iranian scumbag that's at the UN today, saying he wants his Hezbollah and Hamas and Islamic Jihad people in the West Bank to kill more Jews, by the way, and condemning Israel for defending themselves. So we're putting Secret Service resources on that, believe it or not, folks. But anyway, so yeah. Look, I've run on this as a candidate. I don't believe there should be any government employee unions, including the teachers' unions, because the teachers' union, that's a government employee. Those are government employees, folks, at the state or local level, one of the two. So no union should exist for government employees, and certainly it should be way out of bounds if they do to be publicly endorsing political candidates. But again, though, like you said, Chad, it highlights who they are. So now we know, we know the post office is corrupted against us. We know the IRS is corrupted against us. They endorsed her because she's the one that did the deciding vote for the 87,000 new IRS Treasury agents to go after those people not claiming their tips, by the way. For you folks
new union members.
Yeah, there you go. Let's go over to the audience. I know we got some questions, some hands up over there, and let them ask you a question. Go ahead, Shel.
Okay.
We have LT, sir.
Hello. Thank you for your service, Rob. I just have a question for you. I have one child. He's 15. I am just curious, like paranoid. Do you think that if Kamala gets in, that there will be a World War III kind of thing, and will there be a draft if there is?
You want me to go first, Chad, or you want to go?
Oh, she said Colonel. She said thank you for your service. I'm just here supporting you on this.
You're the guest. I want to give you the chance first. Well, let me just say we'll be very lucky if we don't get into a World War III before the election. That's how bad the situation is, man. You can expect that there will be a draft because the all-volunteer armed forces, sadly, which I am a huge advocate of, served 32 and a half years in it, is failing to meet its recruiting goals because part of the reason is this useless wars that we're getting people killed in is a big part of it. Another big part of it is starting with June of 2021 when Secretary of Defense, former four-star general and former corporate officer in a military-industrial complex company, Lloyd Austin, did his extremism training. They highlighted white men, traditional religious Catholics as all racists and oppressors, and they were born that way and couldn't ever get over it. And then people like the current chairman of the Joint Chiefs, when he was Chief of Staff of the Air Force, C.Q. Brown, wrote memos and signed them saying we have too many white pilots, combat pilots, white male combat pilots in the U.S. Air Force. And now just this week, we under a FOIA request from Tom Fitton and his guys, show the documents that show the direction on how the Air Force is correcting its numbers. So they're hiring people that aren't as good as they need to be to fly, fight, and lose instead of fly, fight, and win with our U.S. Air Force. So we're not meeting our recruiting goals. So yes, there's going to be a draft, and it'll probably be to go into World War III and grind your kids and my kids and grandkids up into in the sausage grinder. Chad, I left you a little bit of meat there.
You did, and the Navy, I believe, is 25,000 short of its recruiting goal. I believe the Army is close to 15,000. The Marines don't like to talk about it, but I think they're good to go for right now. The Air Force is down. When we have ships that can't be manned right now. They're moving people around in different ships. So if we were to go to a World War III and we find ourselves in a bad situation where the United States is going to have to go, they're going to go after your kids. They have to go after your kids. They have to draft your children. And this is why when President Trump or any of us are sitting here saying this is legitimately the most important election of our lifetime, as they say in every election, this is the most important election of our planet. Plain and simple, because as the way the United States go, the world goes. And if we get to a point where we are back and we're in a World War III, all of the millennials, the Zs, they're going to find themselves in a situation where they're like, why did I vote for them? And it's that simple. And if you don't get people, and especially the millennials, get involved, and the Republican Party needs to do more. Get them involved and let them realize that they're voting for their future. The rest of us that are involved in politics are fighting like hell for their future. So let them know, because it's a real thing. And I'm not trying to warmonger or fearmonger. I mean, I'm trying to give you some real thought process here, because if we go to war, we don't have enough to fight.
Yeah, between Chad and I, we have over 50 years of service in the national security business. So, I mean, we kind of have an understanding of what we're looking at and how we formulate our opinions and everything. Well, we got to take another break, Chad. When we come back, I want to turn to the political war, find out what you guys have on the horizon. I've seen you at all these rallies and everything, so I know y'all are out there everywhere. But I want to talk about that. And I want to talk about a little bit of polling I got a snapshot of in Pennsylvania this morning from the Rasmussen guys, and get your take on it, because I think somebody's lying to us, and they're called pollsters. We'll be right back with more War Monday and Chad Caton on the Rob Maness Show at Worldview 2.
Vote for Grandpa.
So cute. Oh, he doesn't want to get off the stage. Oh, wow. Look at that. He's got the gene. Thank you.
Welcome back to the Rob Maness Show. It's more War Monday. My guest is Chad Caton, who is a veteran, a former firefighter, a founding member of the 2024 Veterans for Trump Coalition, and a surrogate for them. And Chad, I think that's the best endorsement a political candidate could get, is from his 8-year-old grandson Luke. Just vote for Grandpa in front of millions of people. That all this other stuff we've been talking about Kamala's crazy endorsement, all overshadowed by that little guy, wasn't it?
I've filmed a lot of stuff, and I've been media at the rallies, and that was my video. And you can see how close I was. And big shout out to the Trump campaign for the phenomenal seats. I mean, I've actually got a picture of Eric Trump taking a picture of me. So I'm like, send me your picture, bro. You know, it was special. But that Luke wasn't supposed to go up there. That's Luke Trump, that is the son of Eric and Laura Trump. It was set up originally that Carolina, because we were in North Carolina, was going to go up there with a message, who she did. And she went up and said, "Make America Great Again," in the cutest little voice you ever seen in your life. And Luke's like, "Hey, bro, what about me?" And it was very funny that you couldn't see on our end, because Luke's like looking at his dad like, "I want to talk. Why can't I talk?" And this was right after Carolina bit Luke in the head. So even don't matter how wealthy you are, your kids are still going to be kids. And it was a special moment because Luke went up there. And what you didn't see is after Mr. Trump went back to the microphone, he goes, "I actually whispered in his ear to say, 'Go MAGA.'" And it just goes to show that I raise kids and grandkids to think for themselves, because he went up and said, "Just vote for Grandpa." It was a very cool moment.
When he said that, when I heard him say that, I go, yeah, that kid's chip off the old block, man.
And when you watch Luke walk off,
North Carolina.
Yeah, when you watch Luke walk off, everybody's like, "Luke, Luke, Luke, Luke." You can't really hear it. And Luke stops and he's like, "Wait a minute, this is my moment." And he's all, "Hey, everybody." And then that's when Mr. Trump was like, "Oh, he's got the gene. He's got the gene." He didn't want to get off. And Eric went up there and grabbed him. And there's another great video of him walking with the entire senior staff and all of them with their backpacks. And he's got a backpack with a stuffed animal stuck to it, and said he had his stuff with the rest of the senior staff going back to Trump Force One. It's really cool. And that's the president that you and I both know. The empathy and the love he has for his family and this country is, no matter what these people say, that video in itself shows it all right there.
Yeah, and that's the kind of feedback you get every time from people, that even strangers that get to interact with this guy. Well, somebody's lying to us, because we see polling come out from the New York Times this morning that has Harris up in like 5 of 8 battleground states. But I wanted to just get your take on it, because the Rasmussen guys are putting out their battleground state polls starting today. And the first one I think is going to be Pennsylvania, if it isn't already out. But they released some of their questions, 3 of their questions, and it's 1,202 Pennsylvania likely voters from today. Yeah. And first question: are you better off than you were 4 years ago? Guess what women's breakdown was for yes and no, if you're better off. 54% no amongst women in Pennsylvania. 51% men, which shouldn't surprise anybody. Here's another one. Will today's children be better off than their parents? Yes or no, or not sure. Again, women, 54% no. And again, 51% on the men's side, which isn't a surprise. He's got men, you know. And then, is America safer than it was 4 years ago? Yes or no, or not sure. This is going to knock your socks off. 62% of women in this poll, 1,202 Pennsylvania likely voters, said no. 62%. And overall, it was 63% said no. You know, if you're not voting for Donald Trump just based on these questions, you really need to look in the mirror and say, what do I expect my children's lives to be in 25 years? Don't you, Jed?
Well, those numbers in itself show that if you vote for Kamala Harris, Kamala, or whatever we're calling her today, Special K is what I like to call her. For me, it's more of a if you're deciding to vote for Kamala after this poll, you're a selfish woman. Period. You're not looking at your kids. You're not looking at your grandkids. You're not looking at your neighbor kids. You're not looking at anybody. You are a Trump deranged syndrome, unfortunate female that needs to, I don't know, find the medicine or take the black pill, the red pill, whatever. Take something to realize that you are going up there, and because your own internal emotionals are telling you to not vote for this man because you don't like him because he said grab a vagina or they changed the law so some random chick can make up a a story about him having some kind of relation with her in a Macy's bathroom or dressing room. You know, none of it makes any sense. But see, this is where they go with the emotional voter. That's why they put out the numbers with military people. 741 are saying, intel people are saying that they're for Trump. It doesn't say who. It doesn't say what, when, where, why. Are they retired? Have they been retired? Are they known Democrat? None of that's there. They just throw stuff against the wall to keep the emotional midgets in the same category as voting for Trump. I mean, voting for Kamala. So when they're asked a specific question, they're going to say, no, I don't think we're okay. But they're not going to say I'm voting for Trump. A lot of them might. The polling that we're getting internally, we're seeing Pennsylvania is crushing right now, and so is North Carolina. So you know, and even the New York Times is putting him ahead in all of the battleground states, and that's their own Sally beta soy-driven newspaper, the New York Times. So I have to assume that we're being lied by somebody, and we're always been lied by somebody when it comes to Donald Trump. But I like the fact that their lies are being exposed because the American people are not dumb. Apathetic, yes. But dumb, no. And this is making them realize that this is an important race and they need to get involved and hopefully vote for Donald J. Trump.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing that really jumped out to me with especially on the women's side of these questions, is that people know what's happening. People are paying attention to what's happening. Will they pull the lever for the person that's going to save it and pull the aircraft out of the nosedive? Or are they going to pull a lever for the lady that's going full speed ahead, throttle up, baby, nose down? All right, let's take another question from the audience before we got to close this out, Chad. Go ahead, Shell. I see a hand up over there.
We have Aiden, sir.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me on. I have a question about the propaganda machine that's being thrown at Donald Trump, which is, in my opinion, incredibly childish and kills brain cells every time I listen to it. But considering that Trump is threatening to gut the corruption in the government and a lot of the agencies, including JFK, has a similar rhetoric. And then after reading Legacy of Ashes, which is the history of the CIA, I can't, it's hard for me to deny that there are a lot of similarities between the propaganda attacks that the CIA used to use when, for example, in Guatemala.
3 minutes. Aiden, please ask your question.
So anyway, so my point is, how involved are the three-letter agencies, do you think, in this propaganda, this negative propaganda against Trump?
Good question. Go ahead, Chad.
Well, we know the IRS is involved. We know that the post office is involved. So, yeah, I'm going to say every damn one of them. They're all looking to get rid of Donald Trump. Why would any of them want anything to do with him when he's saying, hey, y'all over there in the government, we're going to cut you like they did down in, where was it with Malay? Is that Argentina or whatever? And said, nope, you're gone. Why would they not sit there and try to get in front of Trump or stop him? They're trying to save their job that they do nothing of. What is it? 68% of government workers are still working from home. There's these big, beautiful government buildings with nobody in them. No wonder you can't get anybody to answer the damn phone when you need help from the government. None of them are there. And they've got some guy sitting at home in his PJs watching Sports Center while you're talking to him. He's not paying attention. He's not running down to the next office to try to help you. Every one of these. And they're all lining up to get behind Kamala because Donald Trump has the wherewithal to talk to the American people, which he's always done. Promises made, promises kept. And he's gone out there and said, you know what? It's time we clean this thing up. I tried the first time. That's why we need the down ballot. That's why we need the Senate. That's why we need the House. And you put Donald Trump in there and just watch how big of a vacuum cleaner comes out to take over Washington.
Absolutely, Chad. You nailed the target right there. We got to go, man. I've had your X account. I'm fired up too, up the whole time. Go look for Chad Caton. If you're not following him, you need to follow him. Share this space to people and tell them the need to follow this guy because he knows what he's talking about. Okay. Before I close this show, I'll just remind you and circle back to this 700 plus national security so-called leaders letter. Many of them, the high-ranking people on there, are from the intelligence agency letter of 51 liars. I'll remind you. And in order for that letter to get out about the Hunter Biden laptop, the CIA director had to sign off on it. That was a lady named Gina Haspel who was installed during the Trump administration. You can't trust anybody that's been running this government in the Obama or Biden-Harris administrations, or even in the first Trump administration, a lot of them. It's got to be cleaned out. Donald Trump's our only opportunity to do it. If we don't do it, it'll be another 1,000 years if the country ever survives. I'm Rob Maness. I'll see you tomorrow. It's Training Tuesday. We're talking about a new book about Muhammad from Robert Spencer.